and friends. Welcome to another episode. Today we're going to talk about promises, vows, and covenants, and how that's supposed to shape our lives. So God had made promises to Israel, and in fulfillment in time, Jesus gave us his promises and covenants to adhere to him. From the Old Testament, we talk about the Ten Commandments, and then Jesus gives us the commandment to sum them all together, and then to love your God with all your might, heart, strength, and your mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself, which encompasses the Ten Commandments in the Old Testament, summed up with Jesus giving us the answer on how we are supposed to live. But here's the question. We always seem to make these vows, promises, and covenants with the intention of not keeping them, but just say the words. So I want to go to talk about those promises that a promise is a simple thing, right? So we'll start with promise. Promise is, hey, I promise to see you next week, or things of that nature. I promise to see this, and I think that's kind of like a lower level of that. And when we get there, we're promising something that we are going to do or achieve or obligate ourselves to. And unfortunately, a lot of the times we say those things and we don't mean them. We just say them as words. So I think we want to retract back and really pay attention when we make those promises. And I've had that in my life before, where I would say, yeah, we'll do this, and kind of like just a dismissive kind of way. And we want to get beyond that. If you can't promise something, don't promise it. If you can't make it, don't make it. Set the date or the time to spend that. So, and that would be a promise to someone about something. Okay, you are going to make it to this event. You are going to make it to, birthday party, something. So it might seem frivolous, but our words have to mean something. And if we promise something, then we should do it. And it reminds me of, Jesus telling us in the Our Father, right? Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. We are promising in that prayer that we will forgive as we want to be forgiven. And how many times have we said the Lord's Prayer and not really paid attention to those words, and we still don't forgive people? And then, so in those words that we are promising to our Lord, we're saying, don't forgive us, basically, because we're still holding resentment and unforgiveness towards others. So that is a really huge problem where we are speaking words that we do not mean. So it would be better not to speak those words because you don't mean them. What is the value in that? So then we go into vows, right? So vows is a step above, and you're vowing, which means you're obligating yourself even more to someone or something. The biggest thing comes to me is our wedding vows, right? You are making these wedding vows in front of God and family to uphold them in sickness and health until death do us apart, right? The last part, until death do us apart, and sickness and health. How many of us now, even people that proclaim following Christ, decide to skip and leave a marriage behind and not live an authentic marriage based on those vows? So again, we're saying words, but now we're saying words in front of God and all the witnesses in the event. Now we're going to uphold those vows, but yet when things get rough, we move away. Difficult times will come. We will be tested. Everybody does. But does your word mean something? Are you trustworthy when you say those words? And that's where vows come in. When the rubber meets the road, are you going to stand by the words you spoke? Now, unfortunately, a lot of people get into those vows ignorant of what really it entails or what it means. So I think marriage prep is very important. Before you get married, understand the challenges and what it means, what those vows mean when you're standing at the altar, waiting for your bride or watching your groom. In that moment, understanding fully what you're signing up for, the words you're going to say in sickness and health until death do us do part. Do you really mean those words? If you don't mean them and you're just saying them, you're lying from the get-go, and you don't want to start a relationship based on vows with lies, which is not a good start. So I encourage everyone to really pay attention to those words that they're saying, all those vows, so that way when they are in that moment, they are fully conscious of what vows they're professing, and those vows mean something, and they are going to stand by those vows. So let's make sure we say what we mean and we mean what we say. The third level of that comes to covenant. And covenant is the exchange of persons, not of things. So God makes a covenant with us, fulfilled in Jesus Christ. And he gives himself to us. In exchange, we are supposed to give ourselves to him. And that's the covenant, that the promise and the vow that we make to God is that covenant piece. And that also involves in marriage too, where you're making a covenant with your spouse that's an exchange of persons, not just of goods. Marriage is not an exchange of just like, well, I'll give you this much of my property, it's 50% or whatever it is, and we'll just deal with it. It's like it's 100% commitment. No marriage is 50-50. It does not work. You have to be 100% invested in that. Say the words, your vows, your promises, your covenant words, and mean them and live them. So it's 100%. And, as we know that the way we connect with Jesus is actually in a marriage words and marriage idea. He is the bridegroom. We're the bride, right? The church is the bride of Christ. So we are in that relationship as well, making those vows to God, right? And the promises and having that covenant with God in Jesus to be with him. So he gives us himself, and we are supposed to give ourselves to him. So it's very important to understand those. So when you say those words, when we go to church and we say those prayers, especially our Father prayer, like we talked about, saying to forgive us as we forgive the one who trespassed against us, really understand what those mean. It's not easy. It's hard to live those, but that's the only way to live, because that's what God has revealed to us through Jesus, is to live that way so we can be closer to him, and him exchanging himself, his sacrifice for us, in order for us to be with him and sacrifice ourselves for him. So it's an exchange of persons to get together, to be able to ascend to be with him in heaven for eternity. So the encouragement to you all is to stick to the words that you can promise, or keep the vows. So when you say those words, mean them, and understand fully what you're committing to in these words. So that way when you begin to speak those words, you begin to mean them, and you try your best to hold on to them. Now, what happens if we fail through that? We're human. We are going to fail. But Jesus is never going to fail us because he is God, and he made those promises and makes that covenant with us. He's always going to continually share himself with us, waiting for us to come back to him. So we profess our guilt, our faults, and we get up and we move forward again. And we deal with that with the same with the people around us. We might fail in that relationship that we have. It doesn't mean we give up. It means we get up and we renew those promises, those vows, and the covenant that we have with that person to say, I'm going to do it again. Forgive me. Forgiveness is possible, right? So let's not stop there and say, oh, I failed and that's it. No, you failed, you get up and you try again. God is still waiting. Jesus still promises his forgiveness and mercy, but still wants us to have that covenant with him. So let's make those promises, try to keep them the best we can, understand the words that we say, and when we do say them, we mean them. If we fail, we have Jesus, his mercy, his love and forgiveness to come back and ask others to forgive us so we can come back to those promises, vows, commitments, and covenants so we can grow closer and closer to Jesus and our fellow man, our husbands, our wives, children, family, extended family, friends, all of them. Be ready to make those promises, keep those promises, the vows, and the covenants that you have. And again, if you fail, let's get closer by saying, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us, and mean those words and move forward and get closer to Jesus. Because again, Jesus is the answer to all the questions of the human heart. Thank you, family and friends. God bless all of you, and I will see you in the next episode.